body. We're gonna pop up to the on the belly. Right now, just put my thumb inside that lapel. I'm blocking the hip over here, cutting the knee in on the inside of the elbow to avoid any guard recovery. Then we can put some pressure, okay? One good thing about the pressure is I'm gonna make him take his hand to defend the pressure, right? Not his neck. So use the pressure of the knee to set up the neck grip. So I have this thumb in already, right? We're here for the cross choke. Remember, we came here, we fed the hand across lapel, brought him up a little bit, came around, shoulder to shoulder, sprawl out facing the head, and then rotate it over the head. Cross choke, right? We're in the same situation. Thumb goes inside, posture up, cut the knee in, create some pressure for the back choke. 4 fingers are going in. Here, so before this hand went across, I fed. This time it's going on the far side lapel. Right here like this, okay? Called the bat choke because it's like I'm holding a baseball bat. The grip is the same. So we're here. My fingers, my thumb and pinky should be pretty much touching in the back, all right? So we're here. Now I'm gonna put some elbow pressure down to create more discomfort until I'm ready to sprawl, where I cut the elbow in and bring my shoulder down once again, sprawl facing the head. This time I'm just gonna work over the head. And as I work over the head, this elbow is sliding down, ultimately off the shoulder and pushing towards the mat. As long as this elbow stays on the body, there's really not much pressure on the neck, right? But once I slide off the shoulder, now it's all neck. You guys see that? This hand is turning his face towards the first hand at the same time. So as this one's turning it in, this one's cutting down, right? Now, as I'm doing that, I just want to make sure that I'm closing all the space to make it difficult for him to defend. And instead of using arm strength once again, I'm just learning to transfer my weight as I do this, all right? Transfer your weight to the throat. So we have cross body. Go ahead and get your first grip. It's right here, thumb inside, knee on the belly. Create pressure so they defend the knee pressure. Meanwhile, 4 fingers go in, thumb and pinky are touching. Get some elbow pressure. As you slide the elbow down, you're gonna bring your shoulder in, sprawl it out, turning his face out with this arm, elbow chopping over the shoulder on the other side to finish the choke. So, if I put all the weight on my knees, there's not gonna be much on the throat. All right, so you kind of have to find your balance of mobility and weight placement. Because sometimes if you have too much weight on the grip in the beginning, it's hard to slide the way that you want. So you've got to let up a little bit, slide, and then lean into it. In the belly. Get him defending the pressure first. As you go for the neck, elbow pressure is down. Slide the elbow down, replace it with the shoulder, sprawl out. We're gonna start to work over the head as we transfer that weight to the throat. All right, once again, this is sliding down. They may tap before you get here if you have tight grips, but ultimately this needs to keep working down over the shoulder, all right? Another important detail is to not let this wrist or either be relaxed. I don't choke like this, right? I get that bar grip, right? And then it comes here. Solid wrist, lock that wrist out, okay? I don't want my wrist getting folded up. So thumb up like that, lock it, and then we slide, okay? Thumb in grip, 4 fingers in grip, right? So the thumb in grip is framing his head out and turning his face away, okay? Now, I could straighten my arm out when it doesn't do too much. It's a matter of how I lean my body. See what happens when I lean my body, right? So when I'm here, like this. I got my arm posted. It's not all the way straight, but it's the idea is that my forearm is digging into the jawline, right? So I had that forearm there. And now as I lean and rotate, look how as I'm rotating, it's really cranking it up, right? So as I'm doing that with this arm, as I rotate, I'm also rotating my body, and this one's coming around this way at the same time, okay? Ideally, really, I wanna get over his head when I do this choke, right? And I want everything to be low and tight, so there's no space, no escapes. So when I get here, when we're practicing, we get tight, it's easy to choke early on this one, but when it comes to drilling, you know, for the finish, you don't want to be here. You want to be right over his head, okay? I would definitely want to avoid being here. Like that, right? Sprawling out way too far away. It's not going to help me at all. So most of my weight is right here the whole time, because for him to shrimp out, two things have to happen. His face has to be able to turn in, and the shoulder has to be able to come up off the mat, right? So as we're here, boom, I stop that shoulder, boom, I stop his face. So we're here, he's trying to shrimp out. I got him locked down, now I'm working over the head, but I'm keeping my weight over that shoulder so he still can't shrimp out the entire time, right? Now, he might shrimp out in the very beginning once I have the grips. So I might be here, boom. So I just gotta make sure that I'm falling with my shoulder in the right space right away and using that forearm to keep his face turned out and keep going. So that's okay, right? But I just gotta make sure my connection points go into play. I'm ready for that. So I either initiate the sprawl, dropping the shoulder down, or he initiates the hip, and then I bring my shoulder down, right? Facing out, and now keeping that weight over this area right here the entire time, not back out and away. Now, this is the bat choke. You know, we're in lapel month, right? And whether I'm doing the bat or the cross choke or whatever choke we're working on, from knee on the belly, you know, you have a whole grip fight trying to get a hold of the lapels. The best grip fight right now is a knee pressure. All right, make him so concerned about the knee and the belly that he can't defend the neck, right? And if he's defending the neck well, put more pressure on the knee on the belly, right? So, as we talked about before, you know, when I put that pressure down, that hand's gonna go to my knee, that's gonna give me the arm bar, it's also gonna have his neck be open, right? So that knee pressure is important. Now, obviously, we're practicing, we're being kind right now, but I'm talking about drills. You go knee in the belly and you wanna get a lapel choke, you have to put pressure to make them defend this and worry about that. So you have knee on the belly, and you have knee on the sternum, right? If you really want them to defend, you move up to the sternum. And it's just the angle of the knee versus here, okay? And this is gonna make him have to defend that. It's too much pressure, okay? Now I got the neck. Does that make sense? Now lastly, even though it's lapel grip, another choke I like to do, which works very nice, no gi, but you can do it with the gi as well, is it's the same choke, but we use a vice grip. So I'll get knee on the belly, I'm gonna have head control like this, and then I'm gonna go here. Palm to palm, no thumbs. Okay? Once again, I'm pulling him in, I'm getting that elbow pressure, and I'm gonna switch to here, and I do the same mechanics. Only I'm using the vice grip, we call it the vice choke. So I'm still pushing with my forearm here, and slicing the elbow over there. So I have knee on the belly, no gi, I like to ride out like this. A lot of times I'll be here like this, and I'll go here, and I get here. Right? He doesn't even really know what I'm doing most of the time. And this works exceptionally well, actually, if he tries to hip out at this point. He hips out, I let the knee drop, and then we go. All right? So very much like the bat choke is the vice choke. All right? You know, I always have to have my pivot points intact. Okay? So, like right now, my pivot's my chest. Right? So my hips float. I go to knee on the belly, you know, my pivot becomes my knee. I go for a choke, my pivot becomes my shoulder, right? I always have to have my pivot. So if I'm losing a pivot, I'm losing control, right? So I always have to have my pivot, whenever the pivot comes off, the weight comes off too, right? So I always need to keep my pivot point. And most of the time, I want to keep the majority of my weight on the pivot point, okay? So, once again, if I'm here like this, the majority of my weight is on him, not on the mat. The more I put on the mat, the less he's getting of me. I want it all on him, right? When I go to knee on the belly, I want the pivot to be, not the weight to be over here, but over here, right? Not on my foot on the mat over here, I lift that foot up, right? Now the weight's on him. And then once we get here, I gotta have the weight on the shoulder. Everything is there as I move. It's the same thing if he's like turtled up. I have my pivot has to stay. It could be my hand, right? It could be my hips. Or my chest sometimes. Like this. Even times there's gonna be where I'm pivoting on my head, like in north-south. Times around here, like this, my head becomes my pivot. But I always got it, right? So the more you think about that when you're transitioning and using positions, even during choke transitions like we are right now, the more effective your positional control is going to be during those transitions for sure. All right, anything?